Hi, everyone. My name is Lenny Gomulka, and I'm here today talking to my buddy Jimmy Weber. Jimmy Weber, a Polka Hall of Famer, fellow musician, band leader, many bands actually, from Western Pennsylvania. Jimmy, how are you today?
I am great, and thanks for having me on the video here. And I hope everyone in your family and everyone out there is safe and doing well.
Yeah, we're well, and I'm happy to see that you are too. And let's wait for this crazy thing to pass. It's a funny thing because you and I have many things in common, Jim, such as you're from Western Pennsylvania. I'm from Chicago. I moved out here to New England in 1990, and you also left Western Pennsylvania when?
Really, it was right around 1990. I think 1989 was my last year with the Sounds, and I had an opportunity with work to move up to Syracuse, New York, actually Oswego for a year and then Syracuse for 2 years. And then with work, I traveled down to Philadelphia and then was there 5 years and then ended up in New Jersey since probably, I don't know, maybe 2000, 2002, something like that.
And you're still in Jersey now, correct?
I am, yep.
Yeah, nice. I think, I don't remember the first time you and I met, but I do remember you from many years ago. I vividly remember you at many of the festivals, dances. You carried a big boombox, and you were a very, very trim young fella. And we spoke and we met, and through the years, we saw each other probably just a few times a year, and then you started the Sounds, which was an awesome band. Still is till this day when we hear those recordings. And the Sounds is no longer, but you're still involved with some other bands right now.
Right. So we do a couple of jobs a year with the Sounds. More for, I don't call it a reunion anymore because we've had some guys that were part of the original band that don't play anymore, but we just have a good time getting together and playing those songs, right? So we'll do 2 or 3 jobs with the Sounds. We both of us were part of Full Circle, which was kind of like, let's bring back some of those classic songs and bands from the 50s and 60s. And then also with the News for the past 4 years, 5 years, I've been playing with Tom and Andy and the guys in the News. And then last year, we had one job on another, let's call it a concept band called Top Shelf, where it was similar to Full Circle, but that band kind of focuses on the honky style music, which you don't hear as much anymore, right? So it was like we played one job, it was a sellout. I guess we're the only band that could say we sell out all of our jobs.
That's right. Well, Top Shelf is indeed a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to next year and doing some more Top Shelf gigs. And so the plans are in the making. You and I have talked offline and so on. And Full Circle. People ask me, did Full Circle break up? I always say no. Full Circle didn't break up. We're just sort of dormant and laying in a background. I says, but Full Circle. I believe that at any given time, even after we haven't played in a few years, I believe that we can just meet at a gig and knock that stuff off with no problem. I feel that we play the music that we all feel, and I think that we embedded that music into our sound and into all the guys in the band, and I think we can just knock it off with no problem if we had to.
I think so as well, and I think the last job we played, it was for the honoring the Tones, and we probably hadn't played for like a year, and it was like we never stopped, right? It just 3 or 4 songs in, it was like, okay, we're ready.
That's right. And I recall when the Tones, when I left the Tones, and all the guys in the Tones, and I always kept in touch. Till this day, we keep in touch. But when we got together musically, it seems like we could play together just like a team because we had fun doing it and kind of knew each other's antics and ways, And the same thing with Full Circle. and I'm sure you're very similar with the sounds, perhaps with the original band, and that's a unique thing. It's amazing how that works out.
Yeah, on that core of the tones, I don't know how, whether you guys, all of you guys, first it started with Eddie, right? For years you kind of built that core, and then you went into the tones. That core of Zach, yourself, Richie, Wally, Roger. It influenced so many of, like, we're still kind of the same generation, just maybe about 4 or 5 years apart. But the influence of that core musician on myself and Frank Lischka and Larry Trojak and everyone kind of like in that about 4 or 5 years apart from where you guys are, it was just, to this day, those tapes, those recordings will still just go, it's like our favorite band, right? And Eddie and the Tones, there's been, in Chicago Push, tons of great bands, but there was something about that heart of those 6 musicians that just touched so many of us.
A lot of fun, and good guys. And I think, if I were to lend advice to any new person in music and polka music, for instance, I would say, surround yourself with good guys, not just good musicians, but good people, good guys, because that's everything. That's absolutely everything. And what you just said reinforces it. So you've been covering a lot of ground with the sounds and with the other bands. And when we spoke about, I mentioned we had a lot in common because you're from Pennsylvania, I was from Chicago, but you wrote a song, something like that, right?
Right. I wrote a song. It was called Polka Music in My Veins. And, it was about, it was either I was going to ask Eddie or you to sing it, right? Because it needed someone who was actually from Chicago, right? So I reached out to you to see if you would be interested in doing it. And it's really about, the song of 2 musicians from different parts of the country, but who just have been influenced and really in their soul have polka music. And we went down to Peppermint's. I think it was even during the week sometime. We just kind of converged there.
Maybe about 1990, 89, right?
Yeah, 1989, 1990. And it was the first time you heard the song. And we ran through it a couple of times. And then I specifically remembered on the key change, you said, hey, Jim, why don't we change it just a little bit this way, right? And that just little inflection on that key change, to me, just really topped off the whole song.
Yeah, cool song. And we did that with Full Circle. And the next time we get together with Full Circle, we'll do it again.
You betcha. Yeah.
And Top Shelf, hey, maybe with Top Shelf we can put something like that in the works. Who knows? As things
we'll do honky style.
Yeah.
We had the pleasure of recording it with Lenny Gomulka. Here's one that was one of our favorite tunes when we were playing with the sounds. Here's one called Polka Music in My Veins.
Chicago is where I learned to play. I listen to the Polkas every hour, every day. I learn by watching July, swimming on to 92. So if I ever had the chance, I'd know just what to do. There's something in this music that filled me with desire to be up in the spotlight and take music higher. I'm finally for a bed and I got up to the stage. The thing that keeps me going is the music that I play. I live in Chicago and I live in PA. People they know the music, but we play it our own way. When we get down to it, we quite the same. We don't know the music, but deep inside it. I live in Chicago and I live in PA. We don't play for the music, but we play it our own way. When we get down to it, we quite the same. We got for the music, but deep inside it.
So, going into 2021, your guess is as good as mine. What's going to happen? Everyone seems to think that the year is going to go by, the calendar year is going to go by, and the meter is going to click, and all this is going to go away. I'm hoping that's what happens, but let's say it does happen. Where can we meet with Top Shelf the next gig?
Well, I think what we would try to do would be maybe, I don't know whether it's back in Buffalo or Cranberry or Cleveland, do like another kickoff dance, right? For us to just kind of knock the cobwebs off. And then, I'll be reaching out to some of the festivals that booked us last year to see if they're interested in kind of rekindling that again. I think the Harukus are pretty much, it's a given that if their Halloween festival is a go, Top Shelf will be playing at that one. So I think you could maybe look for us, I don't know, a handful of times, right? Yeah, 4, maybe 6 times. That would be great. And
providing we still fit into our tuxedo jackets, that'll be a bonus.
That's true.
So when you started out, Jim, back in Pennsylvania as a kid, when you just started playing, which bands did you see most frequently coming through?
So, the Western Pennsylvania area, and particularly my family, no one in my family, extended family either, played musical instruments, but they were always really big fans of Little Wally. I mean, Little Wally was played at Christmas, at Easter, at family get-togethers. And so, I was really weaned on that style. Then my dad bought a couple of Marion Lush albums, but it's a funny story. It's actually like pretty weird when you think about it. When I was young and learning to play, my first instrument was saxophone. I made a recording of all of Little Wally's songs with Eddie Nuga on alto on a cassette, and I used to sleep with that playing under my pillow. How weird is that? But
it's not so weird. I mean, that's how you got all your licks down, right?
That's true. So, and then I remember Joe Theodore used to broadcast from Theodore's Grove every Sunday from 6 until 8. 6 until 7 was one of the bands, and 7 to 8 was another one of them. And whoever was playing that Sunday. So my father said one day, let's go take a ride to Theodore's Grove. And so we pulled up to Theodore's Grove, and the parking lot is jammed. The field is jammed, right, if you've ever been there. And my dad says, let me go up and see who's playing. And And he comes back and he goes, "Oh, well, it's Joe Fedor's son, Little Ronnie and the Carousel, and some band called Eddie Blazonczyk and the Versatones." Like he had no idea who the Versatones were. And it was right when Polkas Aplenty came out. And that was really my first exposure to a live dance. And Angeline Be Mine, I don't know, he must have played that song like a half a dozen times that night. Like it was just so big. And it just made my eyes go like, holy smokes, that's where I want to be, right? You know, playing that style of music and you know, having that sort of crowd response.
Those were the days for polka music. Fedor's Grove was quite the landmark, just as I referred to the Grove in Chicago, Bologna Grove. We referred to the Grove as Fedor's Grove as well in Mount Pleasant, Pennsylvania, and both of us played that place many a times, and record crowds. I mean, you couldn't believe the people in there, and Zip used to have that place humming after Joe Fedor left. Zip took off where Joe left off, and took up where Joe left off, and made a lot of friends and really promoted that place well. And of course, keeping Seven Springs, moving into Seven Springs, and keeping that going with Eddie through all the years, you know.
Yes.
And you know, when people talk about you, they speak about you with the sounds, but I think a lot of folks don't realize you also had a brother that played.
I did. He was the first musician in the family. Everyone knows him for concertina, but he really started, his first instrument was accordion. So there was a handful of families, my family, the Zukowskis, Dave Zukowski, and his mom and dad. There was another Morris's, not the Mo Morris, Dave Morris, who played trumpet. He was playing with the Charltones. But there was like this little side band of my brother, Dave Morris from the Charltones, a couple of guys from the Polka Jets, and they were called the Polka Preps. And every once in a while, they would let me come in and sit in on tenor saxophone, right, and play with them. So my brother was on accordion then, and then he bought one of those little tiny Queen concertinas, like the really small ones, and started to learn how to play concertina. And he just really fell in love with that instrument, especially like the really old style stuff, like the Adamczyk stuff, the Zima stuff, the Wally stuff. Like you could name any of those songs, and he could play it, and he could tell you exactly when it was recorded and who recorded it. He was a really, really fine concertina player, and actually a very fine accordion player, but no one knew that. It was all, they know him for concertina.
And he was local, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice memories there, Jim, and really nice memories. Where do you see, you know, with the IPA, talking about memories, you know, we always rekindle memories with the IPA, when the IPC was here. The International Polka Convention happened in Chicago, and then at Pologna Grove, actually, and then I moved out, and you know, the biggest conventions that I remember with the IPA are those that were at the in Milwaukee at the red carpet, but not in the hotel, but in the expo, next to the hotel, the big expo. I mean, I just could not believe my eyes when I'd walk in there. It was one band on each side, and I remember we played there with the Tones one particular year, and there's a big crowd in front of the stage, and when we finished off, that big crowd moved across the expo to the band on the other side, and I was just looking through there, and I had no idea how many people. I'm thinking thousands and thousands, you know, and it's amazing to me how that was then.
So I was actually there when the Tones played. It was like your first year in as a band.
Yeah.
And the crowd. So you're right. The stages were on opposite sides of the hall. The crowd in front of the Tones was halfway across a huge dance floor.
Yeah.
Just everyone was just there, like, I don't know, like zombies, right? You know,
the days. IPA. So you know, the IPA made a lot of moves. You know, some very successful, some not as successful, but you know, a good college try on their part, taking it to a different location. And what they're doing right now, I have to say, Buffalo, wow, what a winning combination that is polka music in Buffalo, right?
Yes.
And now next year they're going to Cranberry. To me, that's just as hot as Buffalo. I mean, it's amazing. I think that they're going to be pleasantly overwhelmed when they see the crowd there next year. Let's hope this all passes. But Western PA, what a wonderful place that is for polka music.
It is. It is. It always has been. And once again, it's kind of in a central location. You can draw from everywhere, right? It's not that far from Canada and Buffalo. It's still accessible from the Midwest. It's close to Cleveland. Philly is probably 4-hour drive, right? So even New England now, with cheap flights, you can just grab a flight and fly on down.
You've got your choice of airports, and yeah, it's really awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. I thought that was I really perked up when I heard that, because I thought that was an excellent move, Cranberry for the IPA. So our buddy Dave Zahalski, we mentioned him a moment ago, and he was inducted this year, and he kind of got the short end of the stick, like all the Hall of Famers did this year, because there was no live celebration.
Mm-hmm.
Although the IPA did an incredible job for the social media portion of it over Labor Day. I know Dave Zahalski is going to be kicking his heels up in Cranberry next year, 1 year after his induction. He'll be celebrating once again. I know him pretty good.
He's going to need a designated driver.
He will. So, what's your opinion of the IPA direction, where it's headed these days with the changes?
I like it. Nothing stays the same, right? Our industry, the polka industry, is not the same. The world is not the same. The country's not the same. And you either have to adapt and adjust, or you will cease to exist, right? You'll just keep diminishing and eventually fade away. So I think, the management tier, the executive tier, I can't tell you how impressed I was with the virtual convention. Just it was spectacular. It had a couple glitches here and there, but that's okay, right? You get glitches even at like a regular convention, right? Power goes out and things like that. But it was just phenomenal, and I can't imagine the amount of work that went in to just figuring all that stuff out, the multiple social media broadcasts. But I think they've got their eyes turned to the future. They're using more and more modern techniques to reach out to people, especially young people. More young people are involved than ever before, because, at some point, you and I will just want to be there with our walkers and oatmeal and a glass of vodka, not necessarily doing anything, right? But they've got a nice core of young people, some really smart people, some really creative people. I think they've got their act together, and where they're headed is exactly where they need to be.
Me too. Everything you just said, I piggyback on that. I think exactly. The people involved are great. They work together in a really admirable way, and they've got a plan, and they've got people involved. There's a link between what they're doing and social media. People like Chris Bogdan and everybody, that hasn't been involved in the IPA at all is now involved, absolutely 100%. So that's a wonderful thing.
So it was probably the day after the convention, maybe a couple of days, in Austin, my son, he's 18, and he comes in my office and goes, "Dad, the speakers on my computer aren't working." So, and he had been moving his desk around, and I figured he knocked some wires off, right? So I'm underneath the desk, looking the wires and checking the back of the computer, and he's up where the monitor is, and I said, "Austin, play some music so I can see whether both sides are working and stuff like that." So he pulls up YouTube, and what is on there, what I was watching on the account, was day 3 of the IPA. And it was one of the slideshows that they were just playing, and they had polkas in the background. And there was a polka playing that I didn't recognize, and I'm going, I wonder who that is. And I said, "Austin, what's on the screen?" And he goes, "It's some gray-haired guy holding one of those square accordions over his head. And I'm going, square accordion. I come up from under the desk, and it's a picture of Chris Bogdan with with Polka PCM, where he's got the concertina over his head. So I texted Chris, and I said, I told him what Austin said, and I just said, where did I go wrong? A square accordion.
That'll go over big with really. That'll go over big with Chris too. That's funny. That's funny. So, Jimmy, you play clarinet and sax. You play trumpet. What else do you play?
I can play a little bit of concertina, right? Actually, I was better at it when the band was playing a lot, but the All I Want for Christmas is a concertina. That's me on concertina.
Yep.
With many patches. So, and when we used to do weddings, I used to, on some songs, play bass guitar. So that kind of rounds it out. Like just good enough to be dangerous on those two.
Yeah, the sounds began in what year? 79?
77. We began in 77. I played, I left the Charltones like in 75. I played almost a year with the Dynastics in Detroit during 76. And then I came back to Pennsylvania and decided, was talking around the guys in the band, and we decided to put the sounds together in 77.
77, and you had a good run until officially until 1990 probably.
Yeah, 89, 90, yep, somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, nice. What a great band, and I always enjoyed listening to your band and recordings and all your songs that you compose and everything. There's a lot of folks out there, I think, that don't realize everything you've done, everything you've created musically. You wrote a lot of songs. How many songs do you think you wrote? A wild guess, because I took a wild guess at that.
I don't know. I'm going to say maybe 20, 30, something like that.
Yeah, cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I think I wasn't necessarily the strongest composer, but I really tried to. I think what I enjoyed was like the arrangements. How can I take this song, whether I wrote it or was a cover song for someone else, and how can we make it different? And especially near the end, how can you build right to something where you keep getting this lift all the way through the song? I think that's probably what one of my strengths were. Songwriting, was kind of hit or miss with me.
Yeah, it's okay. You do well. You do well. Let me ask you the $1 million question, Jim. How many more years are you going to play?
Well, as long as I'm enjoying it, I will keep playing, right? And I think the point you made, where if you're playing with the right bunch of guys, it's almost like, I can't believe people pay me to do this, right? I'm having some beers, I'm laughing with like 6 other guys, I'm talking to friends. Oh, and at the end of the day, like, I get money for this? Wow, that's pretty good. So I think a lot of it will be, 1, health related, 2, like if you're playing in a band where like you're just counting every minute till you're done, like I wouldn't stay with that very long. But as long as I can be either playing in a band or, kind of having some of these theme bands like Top Shelf or Full Circle, where we sound really good and it's a laugh a minute, I'll do it as long as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. I'm going for another 30 years, so. Okay. Set some records here, Wish me luck, Jim.
I do.
And I hope Top Shelf. Is part of that also.
Right, exactly right. That was we pulled that together really quickly. We had like a rehearsal Friday, bunch of emails, right? The whole full circle model. Here's a bunch of songs, MP3s, emails, words. We kind of ran through some stuff Friday, and then click, showtime 1, 2, right, on Saturday.
Yeah,
and I thought it came out pretty well. So
came out excellent, and what a packed house Danny Potts had that day. Really nice. Really nice. It was a memorable event. Buffalo, nice people. A lot of great friends we both have there. And boy, for many years, I feel like I lived in Buffalo. I mean, everyone you and I know there is close to our age, and it's like you see these people for the last 50 years, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's when I talk to people outside of polkas, they say, like, what did you do this weekend? And I'll say, well, I played with the band and I went out to like Wisconsin, right, or something like that. And they'll go, well, like, why would you? Well, they go, like, why would you want to do that, right? You wouldn't know anybody out there. And I go, oh, no. Like, there's this whole circuit you can play. And if you play it long enough, you just have friends everywhere. I mean, true friends, people that you knew 30 years ago that, they were 18, you were 18, right? And now you're older than 18, but you're still good friends.
Absolutely. I feel the same way about that, Jim. And, it's all about friendship, and it's all about, polka field brotherhood, good fellowship. I always say, you can bring your family out to a polka dance, and not be afraid to have your kids with you, what they're saying, what they're hearing, and so on.
Exactly.
Let's hope it stays that way, because
exactly. Like how many times can you say you played something and saw a fight, right? Like you might see it like a rock and roll lounge or something like that. Very few times in all the decades we played.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, how many venues can say that?
What year were you inducted into the Hall of Fame, Jimmy?
Oh boy. I want to say 2005. Might have been 2005, 2006. So seems like only yesterday.
I know. Yeah, me too. When I reflect, you're a well-accomplished polka guy, most deserving for the Hall of Fame, and you're a friend to many. And I thank you for being my buddy through the years.
Well, thank you. And
you've always been a lot of fun, really a lot of fun. We've been on cruises together. We've been on gigs together. We've been out about with no gig, just out and about. And you've always been a lot of fun. And the back and forth we've had were always enjoyable.
I don't know whether you remember this. I was working in East Chicago, Indiana, for my regular job, and it was Wednesday night, and Chicago Push was playing at 505.
Club 505, yeah.
Yeah. So, and in Chicago, Indiana is right by there, right? So I show up, and you go, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm working here." And probably about on the second set, you called me up to sing and play, and Jimmy Petrowski was there, and he whispered something to you, and I overheard a little bit, and he just said, "Just make sure you put my horn in the case. I'm going home." and I ended up playing the rest of the night, and then we had a couple of drinky winkies at the bar after that, and then we went someplace for steak and eggs.
Yeah.
And I remember walking back to my hotel, and the sun was coming up, and I'm going like, "Oh my God, how am I going to go to work today?" Right?
I remember that. That was a long time ago, man. I remember that well. I remember seeing you. I'm like, I saw you right at the corner of the bar off the stage, and I said, "It can't be Jimmy Weber. It certainly looks like him." And then you waved. I'm like, "Oh boy, what the hell are you doing here?" And pretty good.
It was fun, yeah.
It's all about fun and having good friendships and surrounding yourself with good people, and that's what brings it all together, man. I want to say thanks to the IPA for putting these little interviews together. Jimmy, I want to thank you for having enough guts to sit here with me for a half hour, 40 minutes. And I want to say thank you, Jim, for all everything you do. You're with the IPA now on a kind of an oversight committee with the Hall of Fame, which is a wonderful, wonderful idea. And I truly thank you for your friendship, and stay involved in polka music, because we need guys like you.
All right, and Len, my feelings are exactly the same. Thanks to the IPA, they're doing a wonderful job, as well as all the other organizations that continue to promote polka music. And to you, my friend, all I can say, you're the best of the best. And when we first started playing with Full Circle, when we would play two clarinets, I would play the lead parts and you would play the harmony because you're just so good with the harmony. And I would be playing and I would be listening to what you were playing. And then I would forget what part I had to play because I'm going, what the hell is he doing over there?
Thanks. Thank you, Timmy.
But you're the best. Thank you for everything you've done in the polka field with all the bands you've been with. And I thank you for your friendship. We've had a lot of really, really good times, and here's to many, many more.
Many more. Stay healthy, everybody. Stay healthy, Jimmy. And thanks, IPA, for being what you're doing, for doing what you're doing and being who you are. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.